In tonight's headlines, a Hong Kong policeman has died and his wife is critically injured in a road accident while on holiday in Iceland. Giant pandas get an emotional farewell in Sichuan as they head to their new home in the SAR. And the Customs and Excise Department urges cross-border travelers to follow rules and regulations while bringing food items into Hong Kong. A police couple from Hong Kong were involved in a fatal car accident while on a road trip in Iceland, leaving the husband dead and the wife seriously injured. The accident occurred on Tuesday afternoon local time when the off-duty couple's private vehicle reportedly veered off the road and overturned. The husband was pronounced dead at the scene, while the wife, sustaining critical injuries, was taken to the hospital by an ambulance. The cause of the incident is currently being investigated by local police. Sources indicate that both individuals are members of the Hong Kong Marine Police, the husband, 34, posted to the North Division, while the 35-year-old wife works at the Marine Police Training School.
The two giant pandas gifted to the SAR by the central government were bid farewell today at the original home of the Dujiangyan base of the China Conservation and Research Center for Giant Pandas in Sichuan, Chengdu. The pair, An and Ke, both fresh into adulthood at 5 years old and full of vitality, will finish quarantine in the mainland and arrive at around midday tomorrow at the Hong Kong International Airport, where they will also receive a warm welcoming ceremony. Kevin Yun, the city's Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism, who was invited to the farewell ceremony in Sichuan, thanked the central government for the precious gifts, saying they represent Beijing's care for the SAR and their acknowledgement of the administration's work in panda conservation. He assured that the pair will be taken good care of in their new home. Meanwhile, Xu Changxing from the National Forestry and Grassland Administration noted that with the two pandas' arrival, Hong Kong's population of pandas will increase to 6, which is a lucky number. Upon arrival, the two pandas will still need to undergo another quarantine and take time to adapt to the new environment. But Yuan noted that the SAR government is discussing with the Ocean Park for a specific date to allow the public to meet with the pandas as soon as possible. Prior to their debut, residents can still participate in a series of promotions and celebrations to welcome the pair, such as a naming contest and a panda-themed drawing competition. In addition, the Postal Service is planning to issue panda-themed stamps and philatelic products in December. Quentin Yang, Cable News.
Authorities are urging residents to refrain from bringing regulated food items inbound, as these imports pose health risks and can compromise overall food safety, and offenders may face a penalty of $50,000 and 6 months behind bars. Food prices are cheaper in mainland, so we go to buy vegetables and meat, but in hot weather, it's best not to bring back perishables, as they can spoil, said this woman. The one-hour living circle concept of the Greater Bay Area, along with the simplified border crossing process, has gradually altered Hong Kongers' shopping habits, with many now make trips to the mainland for groceries and snacks. Official statistics showed 1,324 illegal food imports were seized at visitor checkpoints in the first 8 months of this year, surpassing last year's total amount. Uncooked meat accounted for the highest number with 817 cases, followed by 374 cases of eggs and other poultry products. According to Jacqueline Lee, Deputy Head of Land Boundary Command, half of these cases involve individuals identifying as housewives or retirees, with 77% of all cases this year involving Hong Kong residents. The Customs Department aims to enhance public awareness about the legal requirements. Illegal food imports not only can affect personal health and overall food safety of the city, but can also potentially lead to criminal charges or fines, she said. With National Day and Golden Week approaching, the Customs Department plans to intensify enforcement at all border points and will work closely with the Food and Environmental Hygiene Department to take further action if necessary. Jeremy Zhu, Cable News. Despite an array of festive events launched by the SAR government to brace mainland tourists during the National Day Golden Week holidays, tourism industry leaders in the city expressed concerns over a potential drop in traveler spending, citing a lack of appeal of the events and a shift in tourist behavior. According to the latest projection by the Travel Industry Authority, about 925 mainland tour groups will visit the city during the Golden Week peak, bringing in some 36,000 visitors.
相比起嚟，喺嚟緊武漢佢哋都會搞。
Taking to the airwaves, Sarah Learn, chairwoman of the Tourism Industry Employees General Union, noted that drone performances are already held on the mainland, often on a much larger scale, questioning if such shows could raise significant interest among mainland tourists. She added that before the pandemic, the city used to welcome between 300 to 500 mainland tour groups daily during the Golden Week, amounting to around 2,000 groups throughout the week, in a stark contrast to this year's projection. Separately, recent trends show mainland visitors increasingly opting for independent travel or same-day return trips, resulting in a decline in organized tours, which may be a hit to the hotel industry. Casper Choi, executive director of the Federation of Hong Kong Hotel Owners, highlighted that the ecology of room booking has changed, with guests booking much later now, often just 3 days in advance, with some even canceling last minute. We expect a drop in consumer spending by about 10 to 20%. Despite the government promoting over 400 events, my expectations remain cautiously conservative, he said. Additionally, Choi noted that the hotel industry has been actively promoting National Day activities, including fireworks displays and panda-themed offers. However, long-term success will require ongoing coordination with the government, he added. Jeremy Zhu, Cable News.
In a rare publicized muscle flex, the People's Liberation Army Rocket Force launched an intercontinental ballistic missile into the high seas in the Pacific Ocean this morning, the Ministry of National Defense said. The missile, carrying a dummy warhead, was launched at 8:44 a.m. and fell into expected sea areas, the ministry said in a statement, adding that it was a routine arrangement in our annual training plan and not directed at any country or target. The countries concerned had been informed in advance, the ministry added. It also noted that the launch tested weaponry performance as well as military training effectiveness and achieved the desired goals. This marks the first known atmospheric test of an ICBM over international waters by China in 44 years, with the last similar event occurring in 1980.
As world leaders gathered for a United Nations summit in New York, hundreds of protesters took to the streets of the U.S. city, demanding an end to the war in Gaza and Israel's aggression against Lebanon. Welcoming the leaders at UN headquarters, Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the world is more polarized than ever before, and the global situation is becoming intolerable and unsustainable.
Today, a growing number of governments and others feel entitled to get out of jail free card. They can trample international law. They can violate the United Nations Charter. They can invade another country. The war in Ukraine is spreading with no signs of letting up. Gaza is a non-stop nightmare that threatens to take the entire region with it. Look no further than Lebanon.
Continuing Washington's support for Ukraine and Israel is a commitment to which U.S. President Joe Biden held on to, but said a full-scale war is not in anyone's interest.
It's time to move forward. The Security Council, like the UN itself, needs to go back to the job of making peace, of brokering deals to end wars and suffering.
Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky blamed Russia for starting the war with his country, which has not achieved anything.
From the very first second of this war, Russia has been doing things that cannot possibly be justified under the UN Charter. Every destroyed Ukrainian city, every burned village, and there are already hundreds and hundreds swords as proof that Russia is committing an international crime.
Nasıl Hitler insanlığın ittifakı
Taking the Second World War as an example, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said just as Hitler was stopped by an alliance of humanity, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his murder network must also be stopped by an alliance of humanity. Sachin Katwi, Cable News. Life in the Israeli city of Tel Aviv went on as usual, despite militia group Hezbollah firing a ballistic missile at the city, which was intercepted. The early morning strike woke up residents as sirens rung out across Tel Aviv. But things were different in the northern Israeli city of Haifa, which is just 30 kilometers from the Lebanese border. Residents were forced to take refuge in public shelters after Hezbollah rockets targeted the city. Further north, the Bekaa Valley and the surrounding areas in southern Lebanon, which is a stronghold of the Iran-backed militia group, have been pounded by Israeli airstrikes. Close to 560 people, including 50 children, have been killed in the attacks. A Hezbollah commander was killed in an Israeli airstrike on the capital Beirut, killing 6 people and injuring 15 others. The attacks are aimed at removing the threat from Hezbollah to assure the safety of residents in northern Israel. Fearing escalation in hostilities, thousands of families from southern Lebanon are heading north, jamming the main highway to Beirut in the biggest exodus since the 2006 Israel-Hezbollah war. Some 100,000 people living near the border had already been displaced since last October, when Hezbollah and Israeli forces began exchanging fire on a daily basis. In solidarity with Palestinian group Hamas and the people of Palestine, Hezbollah has vowed to continue attacks on Israel unless there is a ceasefire in Gaza.